Captain Ali Javed Sahib. Jazakallah. Floor over to you. I hand the floor over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. As I said, it's always a very deep introduction that I do not deserve, but much appreciated. So, a very beautiful addition by my dear brother. But I want to just add to that as well. Obviously, in Islam, we think about death every single day. It's part of our religion to think about where we are going to be, our future, and those who have died as well behind us. Is when we commit a sin, a black spot will go on the heart of the person. And then we do another sin, another black spot, until the whole heart is completely black. Then what happens? We give up. We say this and this and this and that. But what removes the blackness from the heart? What is it, guys? Frequent zikr and frequent remembrance of death. This is what removes the blackness from the heart and allows the light to come back in. So in regards to that, this Sunday in the UK, we come together and we always celebrate or remember Remembrance Day. Yes? So Remembrance Day is there to remember and to pause for a moment of silence to honor those who have given their life or given their day for our day. So it's for those who have died and suffered during the First and Second World Wars. But it's also those about remembering those who stood for justice and courage and humility, including those stories we don't often hear about. Yes? That's what I wanted to talk about, something quite close to my heart today. And it is the Muslims who fought and the Muslims who sacrificed in the world, in those world wars, and those who continue to do so today. And when we think about the world wars, we often think of the trenches of Europe, very cold and dark, or the beaches of Normandy. But we often forget the millions of Muslims who also took part, side by side with all the other allies who fought for freedom and peace. And in World War I, 2.5 million Muslims took part. In World War II, it was 5.5 million Muslims. And approximately 1.5 million of those Muslims gave their life in order to fight this evil that was happening at the time. But not all of them were soldiers. Some were laborers, some were merchant sailors. So it's not always just soldiers. And they came from all around the world. Some from the villages of India at the time. Some who came from the deserts of Arabia. Some who came from the towns of Africa. They left behind everything they knew to fight in the places like the freezing trenches of France and Belgium. They fought in Egyptian deserts and even places like Persia. Many of them never came home. One of those was a gentleman called Khudadad Khan. And he was from what we know as Pakistan now, a little village in the Punjab. But on the 31st of October, 1914 in Belgium, he and his machine gun team were faced with a massive German attack. One by one, all the people in his team fell. All his comrades died. But Khudad, he kept firing alone. He got injured, he got shot. He was outnumbered until his weapon got destroyed. He was shot. What's he going to do? Is he going to give up? No. So he crawled all the way back through the mud in the nighttime. And he reported what happened to his superiors. And because of that, they saved the rest of the battalion from moving on. So for his courage that night, he was the first British Muslim to be awarded the Victoria Cross, which is the highest military valor in the British military. So this is one small example. From a small village this person came, from thousands of miles away, fighting in the foreign land, not for fame, not for reward, but because it was right. And some people, they asked me, I said, don't you think he was conscripted? Do you think he was asked because it was British India at the time? But no, let's not forget that the British Indian Army was a voluntary force. It was the largest voluntary force in the whole of the Allies. These people were volunteers, and there's many stories like them ahead. But Muslim bravery isn't only found on the battlefield, it's sometimes shown through mercy. So centuries earlier, we've all heard the many stories and the heroism of the Lion of Islam, Salahuddin al-Ayyubi. This is where he showed his true strength on this day, not from a big battle, but one day, one of his messengers rushed to him and he said, "My commander, one of the women inside the city is about to give birth. She's very frightened because they're about to be invaded. And the roads are blocked by our soldiers." Salah ad-Din, he paused for a little bit and he thought. He said, "Then we wait." So he said, "We wait." Army of thousands of men standing there, stood still for 3 full days. No movement, no attack, until that woman, a non-Muslim woman, to remember, she gave birth safely and she was removed from danger. This man is commanding empires, but he showed mercy. This is sacrifice, and this is real strength. There was another one in modern times. Like I said, we talk about the remembrance of the past, but we also talk about what's happening today as well. In modern times, countries like Pakistan, they've paid a very heavy price in the fight against extremism and terrorism. Over the past 2 decades, tens of thousands of soldiers, civilians, teachers, even children from the school have lost their lives standing up for extremism. One story that stays with me, it's a very harrowing story, is of a young boy, 15 years old, name is Aitazaz Hassan. And he knew a suicide bomber was coming towards his school. He knew what was coming. He could have easily run with all the other kids, but he ran towards that person and he stopped that person in the tracks at the gate of the school and got blown up in himself. He saved many other children from this. So it doesn't matter what story we look at. I never, like I said, we never put ourselves in harm's way. But if we have to stand up for justice, then it's important. And our faith teaches us many times that great sacrifice is not just on the battlefield, it's within ourselves. We are fighting with ourselves. Like the brother mentioned earlier, our taqwa, that is the battle within ourselves. Then there's the battle outside, but that must be defended when we see injustice. And, when we look at war, it's not a good thing at all. And I'm sure everyone here will agree with me. Everyone knows someone who's been or has a very hard story to say. But sometimes it's necessary when justice needs to be defended. But a lot of the time, more modern wars, they're often serving greed and corruption. I'm not going to go too deep into that subject, because when the powerful people they gain riches, they gain power, they gain land. It's always the young men and women, the innocent civilians, the reporters, the medics, the children and the mothers who pay the deepest price. So it reminds us that peace is paid for with blood, annoyingly. And it's across every nation and every faith we see this. And we see this today again, what's happening in Sudan. I was looking at live satellite footage yesterday of whole towns that were completely massacred. On the footage, you see big pools of blood. This is happening today. In Gaza, they say there's a ceasefire, but there's still happening, strikes from other places. We see the mass infrastructure is gone. And that's why I wear these 2 badges here at this time of the year for the Remembrance Day, the red and the white poppy. And I trust that all of you should try and wear them as well. I wear the red to remember the courage and the sacrifice of those who fought, the soldiers and the people back home. And the white is to remember all victims of all the wars. So that's civilians, medics, journalists, volunteers, and even animals. Many, many animals have sacrificed in war. In the First World War, they have thousands and thousands of horses have lost their lives in this. So together, guys, we have to work together, and remembrance is ultimately about peace. But why do I bring up this subject in this little gathering we have here? It's to remind ourselves every day we see on the news, every day we see on social media, even with our own eyes, we may have experienced a rising hate towards Muslims. So what I tell people is, let's answer that hate, not with anger, but with remembrance. Remember that this country the Muslims have always stood behind this country. What happened during the wars? We fought for this country. What happened after the war? We built this country. When there was no one here to build it, the factories were filled with us. We were the ones that came here, Muslims and other people from all other faiths. That's where we came together. We played a vital role in the country that we see today. So make sure our actions speak louder than the hate that's around us. And may we never forget the sacrifice of those who have died, inshallah.
Ameen.
Jazakallah Shaykh.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah.